You guys went silent again.
Good now, Liz?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready for a nomination?
I guess I would say we'll call this to order 4:33. I didn't give you a time. It's the recording went off. It's back on. Yeah, we just need to select the chairman. I don't know if we need a motion or
Volunteers,
somebody
any
just.
nomination?
I'll make a nomination since I'm losing my voice slowly but surely. It's good to have a chair who's not the board president. I'll nominate Ulrich. If he's willing to take it on.
I agree with that. I think it's fine.
Fantastic,
I'm outvoted in any case.
Yes.
fantastic. So we've named Director Ulrich as chairman of Personnel Committee for the 2025 calendar year. Congratulations.
I mean that facetiously, don't you?
I know you're excited.
Okay. It's still my heart, so, or I don't mean that actually. Okay, all that'll proceed just swell as soon as I can get the agenda up here. So. Okay. For some reason, my, yeah, neither, Safari is open in this.
The agenda is not too robust. Here's a printed version.
Oh, right, I was hoping you were.
That's what we all need.
There we go. Plus, I'm so analog anyway. Okay, so that's item number 2, select chairman for the committee. Consider approval of director request for remote meeting attendance in compliance with Assembly Bill 2449. We have any?
We do not.
Public comment? Items not on the agenda. Do we have any?
No public on there?
Okay. Items for committee consideration, discussion, and possible recommendation to the board of directors. Item number 5, alternative work week discussion.
All right, thank you. What you have here in front of you is a discussion about a 980 work week. I'll zoom out a little bit on what is a 980 work week. We'll talk about why, and I'll go through a lot of the details that we looked at here. So a 980 work week is where you work 80 hours over a 2-week period for 9 days. So instead of working 2 5-day work weeks, you work 5 days the first work week. So you have 4 9-hour days, 1 8-hour day, and then your second week could be 4 9-hour days. And so it's an alternating, called an RDO. It's your regular day off is what it's called in the industry. Why is a couple reasons. First and foremost, I think it is helps improve employee morale. We had the interviews, and many of the recent interviewees inquired on whether we do a 980 and a 410. A 410 is an alternate work week also. 410 is different in that it does 4 days a week for 10 hours. Personally, I'm not supportive of the 410. The reason being is OVSD really has a culture of working 5 days a week. And I think a 410 and a 5-day work week is just too far apart to get to overlap. But I do think a 980 is at least considerable. Other reasons why people like the 980 is that it decreases some short-term absenteeism, right? Whether it's medical for individuals, for children, they can set up appointments on their alternate day off, and people aren't taking sick time for that. I think it also increases hours in the field, particularly for the collection system and the treatment plan operators. The reason being is we have a core number of hours to work, but we also have mandated somewhat administrative hours, whether it is working out in the morning to get warmed up. That's about 15, 20 minutes. They have a tailgate meeting. It's about 15, 20 minutes. They got to get ready. It's about 15 to 20 minutes. In the afternoon, the same thing happens, but somewhat in reverse, right? They got to put the equipment to bed. They got to get it lubed up for the next day. And so my point is you have about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes daily to do this administrative work. But if you have an 8-hour day, you're leaving yourself with 6 3/4 hours of actual wrench time, work time. Whereas if you did a 980, you still have that hour and a quarter or so of administrative work, but you end up with 7 1/4 hours of the wrench work, of the field work. So I think it provides a benefit for the ratepayers in that regard. The other thing that does add on, I think it's pretty ancillary, but it is out there, is it does reduce, it reduces commute time for people, right? Both mileage and fixed time. So it's a little bit, for us, it's a little bit of advantage. You've got a community here where I would say about half of our people commute up into it, and it would take about 10% of those commutes off. So that's the 980. So again, going back into the 980 in particular, it's a 40-hour work week. And you are not, by California rule, by any code, you are not limited to which days that needs to be. But the reality is once an employee settles on the day, we're going to stick to it. You can't say, I want to have a Monday off this week and a Friday off next week. That's not the way it works. It becomes a very regimented 980. The regiment occurs because California code mandates that we have a 40-hour work week for full time. And so to make that 40-hour work week happen, by rule, or your week ends at the halfway point of your 8-hour day. That makes sense? So you would work, for instance, say you had a 980 with every other Friday off. You'd work 9 hours on a Monday, you'd work 9 hours on a Tuesday, you'd work 9 hours on a Thursday, Wednesday too. So you'd be at 36 hours. You would work 4 hours on your Friday. That's the end of your work. You're 40 hours in, you're done. You come back after lunch, you're actually working in your second week. So when you leave on Friday of your day on, you've got 4 days in, and then you would work 9, 9, 9, 9 again for another 36 plus that 4, and you're at 40 hours.
Is that legal, splitting a day up like that?
Yes, yep, it's legal. So I've run this memo that you guys have in front of you. I've run it past LCW. They had some comments on it, all minor, but it is legal. In fact, that's how everybody. Kind of, I think what's important for us is some OVSD department needs. For the collection system, I don't know if everyone knows this, the collection system really is prohibited, with the exception of emergencies, is prohibited from working on Fridays on Caltrans. So Highway 33 is off the table, Highway 150 is off the table, and there's somewhat of an unwritten rule where they don't work in downtown Ojai on Fridays also. So what that means is there's clear, and the reason being is there's traffic impact in the Ojai Valley, and Caltrans wants to mitigate that traffic impact. Where I'm going with the whole thing is when I reach out to the collections crew, they're absolutely supportive of it. And if we were to do a 980 for the collections crew, it would support every other Friday off. So there, of the 5 individuals, you would have 2 on one Friday, 3 on the other Friday, but it would always be Fridays off for the collection crew.
They wouldn't do the same day?
No, there'd be 2 schedules. There'd be like an A schedule and a B schedule. So in essence, 2 would be on the A, 3 would be on the B schedule. And so there would always be at least 2 people here on a Friday. That would be for collections. Excuse me. But you wouldn't have all 5 of them would not be on Fridays. And then on the next week, you would have 3 collections people on their Friday.
Are there ever any projects and jobs we have where we need all 5 guys working?
It's a possibility. I think it's more of the exception than the rule. It's a possibility. There's nothing scheduled at this point. And I think we probably could mitigate it. Whether it would be mitigated from engineering technicians helping out on that, the environmental compliance inspector helping out on that. I think we do need to look at it all as a whole when it comes to the collections and the engineering and the environmental compliance side.
So would you then pick the A and the B people, finding like a certain combination is the most effective?
Probably, yes. I think I would give people an opportunity to say, hey, if you have a choice, what it is, what is your choice? You know, whether you want week A or week B. But in the end, no, I think it would be important. I think if it was, we have some senior people that are probably pretty good mentors. They may be best to have lined up with newer staff that could use the mentoring as far as staff that's recent to the district. And then there's a couple other crews that work pretty well together as 2 and 3 man crews. And I think they would be perfectly fine without having the most senior staff here on that particular Friday.
So you're coming to an understanding of how that's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working through it. So, and by the way, when it's all said and done, this is not a pitched in stone. What I'm pitching in the end is this is a pilot program. I'm pitching, like, we try it for 3 pay periods. And if it doesn't work, we pull the plug and go back to 5 days a week. That's my consideration.
And
Overall.
different departments within the organization would have different Fridays up.
Different departments would actually have different schedules. So I mentioned that the engineering team would probably also be on Fridays off. The reason being is I feel that the engineering team supports collections, they support the treatment plant, they support admin. But the engineering technicians and the project manager, I think that they're the people that during a construction project could help out more on a Friday than anybody else. They're the most apt people to help out on a Friday. So I would think that in engineering would be every other Fridays off. Talked about IT. I think IT could work for every other Fridays off. I don't think that the treatment plant is best operated every other Fridays. The reason being is there's 6 treatment plant operators, and I think you really need to plan to have 4 on site on all given days. If someone called in sick or was on vacation and you were at 3 and you knew it was at 3, or it was an exception, I think it would be okay. But I think we really need 4 people down there. So where I'm going with the treatment plant, what I would support and what I've let the treatment plant operators know is that we would probably have 4 schedules where some would be off on a Friday, Friday A, some would be off on Friday B, a different group would be off on Monday A, and another one would be off on Monday B. And what that would do is you would have at least 4 people at the site every Monday and every Friday, and you would have, or at least, yeah, you'd have 4 people every Monday, every Friday, and you'd have 6 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Just so we understand how this is going to work. What do we do on a 3-day weekend right now, like we just had Monday off? Do we staff the plant?
We staff it for about 4 hours. It's somewhere between 4 and 5.25 hours. We staff it as overtime right now. If there's a 3-day weekend, the on-call person comes in on that holiday day, and they come to the plant.
You'll have one person in the plant for 4 hours. One person in collections, or you just.
No, I don't, unless there's an emergency, I would not envision having anyone regularly come in for collections.
I just wanted to compare it to how it would work. And is there any flexibility on which, I mean, I guess math works out that you have one day in your week period, it's an 8-hour day instead of a 9-hour day. Is there any flexibility in which day you get to pick for your 8-hour day?
No, it's going to be either a Friday or a Monday is what I'm envisioning, depending if it's in collections and engineering or the treatment plant. And then I think it's probably best assigned from, even at the treatment plant, best assigned. Again, I think there's teams that work very well together. I think there's an opportunity. We have a new, and I'll bring it up at the board meeting, but we have a new grade 4. I think the grade 4 probably needs to be teamed with Bradshaw. And so I think there's probably some nuance to scheduling and making sure certain folks are together for the continuity of operation.
So is this going to mess up our account? This is maybe a question for Allison. You have your salary system set up where people get so many hours. Is this going to mess up our computer program software for calculating paychecks and that kind of stuff?
We would just change the algorithm on the back end. So that it would essentially capture overtime based on whatever the new algorithm is as far as how you calculate overtime on a 980 schedule. It's easy enough to do.
A lot of work. Okay. Well, I'm kind of giving them the grilling. Back to you guys for now.
So you say. I just, question.
So I've got something, go ahead.
So if I understand things, this has been run by all of the affected folks and are there any folks who don't like it out of the get-go?
Yeah, and there are.
And how many of those are there?
Yeah, so this, by the way, this is, so, I probably was a little bit amiss. So this is, the reason I think a 980 works is it's an option for anyone. No one is going to be mandated to take it. So if someone wants to continue working on a 5-day a week, I think the 980 is perfectly viable to lap over on that 5-day a week schedule. I don't think that there's a problem there. I may be wrong, and maybe we find it out in the trial period. But so that no one is going to be mandated to take it and to change their schedule. That is not what I'm considering at all. I have inquired. From what I understand is I have 100% buy-in from the collection crew. So to the point where they asked if they should attend this meeting today, and I said I don't know that they need to. So, but they did ask me. So I have 100% buy-in from the collection crew. I do know for a fact that the lab is not interested in it. The lab personnel, David would like to stick with the 5-day a week. I think Bradshaw is probably opting to stick to a 5-day a week. I think he likes that. Yan, I think you would be supportive of a 980.
Absolutely.
Yan is supportive of a 980. On the engineering technician side, I think it's split 50-50. One person has worked 980s before, has worked 9 hours before per day and has no problem working 9 hours. They would be supportive of it. I think the other person is their lifestyle and kind of stage of life is probably more conducive to sticking to a 5-day a week. And as far as the handful of people down at the treatment plant, they know about it. I don't know. They haven't reported back one way or another. At least the schedule that I proposed, I think it will overlap, irrelevant of what their choice is.
The voluntary nature of it is important, obviously. Now, moving forward, assuming majority of folks adopt it, will it be something that gets set in stone, or is there then the ability for folks to, reconsider and opt back? And if so, that mess up.
I can tell you what I'm thinking. So, my idea is you don't get to go back and forth. That being the case is I think people's lives change, and it would be willing to, if they have a life change, to let it go. So I have not written anything down. My presumption would be is, early on, perhaps we would give a little bit more leniency because it's a trial period and people don't know. Once that happens, maybe it's akin, not necessarily the same rules, but it's akin to life changes. Like if you needed to change your insurance or whatever provisions you had to change your insurance, you had a life-changing policy, I would think something like that would be reasonable. What cannot happen, by the way, and it's completely off the table, is this ability to flip-flop. That's not on the table at all. Right, that is not on the table. That would be an absolute nightmare for payroll. It would be costly for the district because by rule we would have to be paying overtime. So that is not on the table. So it's once you set it, it's set, and the way it is. And then if you don't like it, the option is we can revert back to a 5-day a week.
Okay. Well, my perspective, I've run jobs that had unions that had all three configurations: 410s, 9s, and your 8s, or at least allegedly. bunch of slackers anyway. My only question was on this was holiday pay section, which is on page 7. That's the middle paragraph. It says in the, what's that, the 4th line at the end, the 9th hour shall be unpaid. There's some like state laws about unpaid time.
I don't know. So this particular section I had, I referenced, that came
From Solano?
no, that came from the Cal HR manual. And that's where I came, yeah, so I came from,
No more than I do. My eye was drawn to that because typically speaking, it's like anathema.
right, and I'm with you, and I'm happy to run that past.
It's a de facto thing. It in writing is not a.
But they're not working the hour. They're not here.
It would not be here.
It's accrued vacation hours, though. Their inference is as someone other than the employee getting the benefit. Now, so that was only my question. If it came out of the labor manual, I'm okay with it. It would just that line, the 9th hour shall be unpaid. Just
Sounds odd. Is they're not working the hours.
yeah,
So why do they get paid?
even if it's a vacation hour, that's accrual. Once again, there's someone other than the employee is getting a benefit, and that usually means the institution, the agency, and that's could become a problem with
I think the.
wrong hands.
Right. I think the intent was to prevent someone on the 980 schedule to be either getting, accruing differently than the 5-day week. That was the intent. The intent is if you have two groups of people, one on a 5-day week schedule, one on a 980, how do you keep it fair so that one of the two groups isn't getting more vacation than the other? Yeah, I think that was the intent.
Fairness.
Right. All right. Do we have any thought to going out in the future, to any future new hires and just eliminating the option to have 5/8? So we don't perpetually have this schedule for forever?
I haven't.
Or are we gonna just do the double schedule forever?
I think the double schedule is suitable, but I don't know. I mean, I worked with the county. The county had some people on the 5-day. Well, frankly, the county had groups on all three. The 410s was really difficult to work with in my regard. It was just they were coming in either too early, they're staying too late. I think when it comes to field crews here, the reality is in this valley, it's pretty dark until 7:10, 7:15 in the morning, and it's pretty dark at 4:45. And I don't like the 410 is my point. I think the 980 could work. I haven't thought about mandating it as far as new hires go. And I like the idea of the option. I do think that the intent of this is to provide it's to show that the district believes in the staff and provides an opportunity that doesn't cost the ratepayers anything and perhaps is a little bit of a fringe benefit to the employee.
Recognizes the exigencies of.
Right.
I think that is actually for new hires a benefit. And them an option because not every agency is going to have that. Number one. Number two, I also agree with the lack of actual effectiveness of a 410 beyond what you were talking about. Folks get tired.
I agree.
What process are you gonna go through? You know, an experiment, we tried it for 2 weeks or whatever. And how are we gonna evaluate whether it worked or not?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought of a specific process. I think it's probably as simple as management sits down and we talk about it and we see what has worked and what hasn't worked. And are there any tweaks or changes that we could make that would iron out what hasn't worked? I think it's as simple as that. It's my intent would be this should be relatively simple and straightforward. And if it's contentious or difficult, there's a cost associated with that to the ratepayers. And I don't have any intentions of perpetuating an additional cost. So if it's not smooth, if it's not, if it's not a benefit to anyone, I'm happy to revert back to a 980. With that being the case, is I think that some groups could have it. I really do. I think that, I think that you're going to find that the collection crews are going to probably be more productive with it, and I know that they want it. I think some of the engineering is going to be similar to that. I think that the treatment plant has an opportunity. See how it works out.
Presumably anybody that that tries it, learns that they don't like it, sign up for the
Yep.
840s.
Right, they could revert back. No, right. They can revert back and it's,
So we'll find out that they didn't like it.
right, exactly. They'll let us know.
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I think we should do an experiment. My opinion.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I can see the definite benefits, especially for collections. That's huge for amount of time after setup and for cleanup.
And once you've offered it to them and they're all on board, you got to offer it.
Yeah, well, so let's just, I was thinking we offer it to everybody. Are you guys thinking that we should only offer it to collections?
I'm just saying, you've already apprehended that they're on board. So, you can't just say, okay, they're all on board and everyone else is,
No.
not so much. I think you offer it to everybody and then there'll be the folks that join and there'll be folks that don't for whatever reasons, just like, the lab. And then it's still, the whole thing is still, as long as everybody understands that it's an experiment. Although, the reality of the situation is if it seems like it's the best fit for the collection folks and if the experiment doesn't go with everybody else, it might be hard to prize them out of it.
It's true. Well, and I do believe that, I did prepare it in here that there are going to be certain circumstances where it may come off the table. I like for jury duty, if you're called into jury duty, I think we're just going to have to revert back to a 980 if someone's on a long case. Military leave, if there was a modified duty, I think that would be one too. If there was long-term training, if someone had to go to a week-long training course, then, they're not going to get to skip the last day.
How many folks do we have that are in reserves? New hires then.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with taking that to the board and start it.
So I'll draft up, my recommendation would be that it's kind of it's going to be temporary. I mean, there's going to be some conflict with some of our personnel, our code, our employee handbook manual, because it's going to have a conflict with dates and times and stuff like that. So I'll iron out some of that stuff and work with lawyers, LCW and Dennis to see what we need to do to write that up as a temporary thing.
Right. So that was item number 5, item 6 reports. Committee members pursuant to Government Code 549. Okay, then general manager on district activities related to this board committee.
Yeah, I can give you a quick update. So I'll give a similar update here at the board meeting tonight. We've onboarded 3 new staff. So Tatiana, she's working as the engineering technician. She's been all around in the field with Israel, down at the treatment plant, up here. I think she enjoys her time here. She's logged on right now. So she's even watching. We had Danny. Danny is a new collections operator. He's fit in great with the group. They had the vax parked down at the treatment plant today, and they had he was chauffeuring Alex around in the back seat while Noah was writing riding shotgun. So Danny's really fitting in and doing a great job. The crew seems to be getting along really well with him. And Josue has started down at the treatment plant. He's the grade 4 operator. He started on Tuesday after President's Day. And I think he's a great fit too right now. So as far as personnel, we've got three new people that are on board, and we have a fourth that's looking to start in mid-March as the environmental compliance.
Does that bring us up to a full complement?
Full complement. Yep.
And are the new members of the team from around these parts?
A little bit yes and a little bit no. One member is from Camarillo and commutes from Camarillo. Another member is sometimes stays in the valley and sometimes stays out of the valley. I think it depends on what, personal stuff. And I think the other one is also down on the kind of toward not in the valley. So if you're asking do they commute in and out, I think it's half.
They're local folks then.
They're all local folks. Yes, they are. Yeah, nobody moved. No one moved to the area for this position. They were already in Ventura County.
But we've been waiting for this day to happen.
Yeah.
The success to actually start restaffing ourselves again. I'm pleased about that.
Okay, does anybody have anything else? Okay, in that case, then I will call this meeting at 4:05